ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm the Gnarly Gnome. This, if you haven't figured it out by the screen that's in front of you that tells you what it is you're watching or listening to, because you can listen now to this show. It's the Weekly Pint. I'm the Gnarly Gnome. The whole point of this is for us to hang out and just talk about stuff. about anything that happens to be going on. It's almost always about beer, or at least the drinking world. Usually kind of focused on Cincinnati, but the national stuff does kind of squeeze in there a little bit. And we will talk a little bit national kind of stuff tonight. But if you are new to the show, half of the point, especially, probably only, I guess, point of this when you're watching live is to interact. And I get that that's a little strange now for those of you who are listening to the podcast version, but it's more fun live. So if you just happen to listen to this via the podcast, maybe next Monday around 9:30, get onto Facebook and YouTube and hang out with us live and do it that way, because it's more fun. It's how this show was meant to be consumed. So do that. I mean, listen however you want. What do I care? But we all like to hang out together and have a drink of something. So as you are jumping on the chat, feel free to chime in and tell us what you are consuming. If you really don't like typing and you don't want to get on the chat, you can always call into the show, because it's interactive. Over here, I'm pointing, for those of you, again, that are listening to audio only, 56770 drink. That's the drunk line. I guess if you are just listening to audio later, or watching this video later, you can still call into the drunk line. You could call in and leave a message, and I guess that could be fun too. So feel free to consume that way. But the chat's more fun. You can get on the chat, and it'll appear right here on the screen. I don't know why it does that. It pops up for a second, and then it goes away, and it'll come right back as soon as you guys start talking again. What do I know? It's not. I didn't build the technology. I just use it. For some reason, I'm never really happy with the lighting here. We're gonna figure this out one of these days. I guess I need to be over there. I swear, in my life, if it's not one thing, it's something else. I could shift. Just ignore me for a second while I, in my head, figure out how I can change this entire studio around again. I think that goes there, and then maybe it'll be better. Whatever. Let's see. Caroline says I could get some candles going. That is probably not safe. Let's see. Marco is drinking a Truth. Josh is drinking a Hop 'em Up by Tox Brewing. Tox. I have no idea what that is, or where that is, or anything about it. That is a brewery that I've never heard of, a beer that I've never heard of. So tell us about that as you are drinking it. I am going to crack open a beer. I grabbed this one because it sounded really delicious today. This is Timber Trail, a brown ale from Municipal Brewworks in Hamilton. I will read it to you. It's nice and cold, too. It says, a beer for all seasons. Timber Trail is a medium-bodied beer that's full on flavor. From the pour, you'll notice a beautiful deep tan hue. It's loaded with nutty flavors, ending with a distinct hop finish. Our take on an English nut brown ale with American hops, a perfect year-round beer. Enjoy and cheers. Keep cold, drink fresh. It is cold, and I will drink. Let's see. Josh says that the collab between Tox Brewing and Hop Culture Brewing, it's an IPA brewed with Pacific Northwest hops. And Tox Brewing, it looks to be out of North Haven, Connecticut. There's a lot of brewing going on up there in kind of that Connecticut area. I've noticed a lot of places up there for some reason. I don't know why. Julia says, I've had the same glass of Hoppy Lager from High Grain sitting next to me for like 2 hours. I'm not ready yet. For anybody who is not aware, this weekend we all decided to celebrate the 100th anniversary, or not anniversary, I guess, episode. It's an anniversary, I guess, of the Craft Parenting Pod. So we went and helped record with them, and by helped, I mean tried to steer them off a lot. And then we we did a big bottle share, and we drank lots of beer. Josh says it's pretty good, hazy, bit of orange, nothing special. All right. Let me dive into this. Let me see how this is. I've had this beer plenty of times, but let's pretend like I'm drinking it for the first time. So as they tell me I was supposed to, I do notice a nice tan hue to the beer. You guys can't see that because, again, my lighting in here just is not ideal. I need to fix this. But yeah, kind of a reddish, coppery brown color. Big old thick tan head. Josh says we did a madness as far as what happened when we were recording with Craft Parenting Pod. Caroline says, I haven't listened to any of it yet. But Joe has been shaking his head in disapproval at the laptop a lot. There's a lot to unpack there. And I don't know his full process of how he edits or how he even records, if he's mixing track by track or if it's all just kind of mixed down already. But there were a lot of like little side conversations going on at the same time that the show was good. So there's just a lot of content that you could dig into. All right, speaking of digging into, I'm gonna dig into this beer. Oh man, it is. I love a nut brown. Oh, and that is a great one. Oh my goodness, it's delicious. Perfect beer after a long day. Let's dive into some stuff. I don't have a lot of crazy topics to dig into, but I do have a few. Let's do the housekeeping stuff first. So, if you aren't subscribed to this show, this channel, any of this, that's what we need to talk about first. You need to make sure that you are not only subscribed on YouTube and on Facebook to The Gnarly Gnome, which is where this show airs live. Number one, make sure you do that so that you can take part in these conversations when they're happening. While you're at it, though, go to your favorite podcast platform and go ahead and just subscribe to The Weekly Pint, which is this show. It's starting to appear everywhere. If you have a platform where you don't see it, shoot me a message and I'll make sure it gets there. And subscribe to Cincy Brewcast and Drinking with the Gnome, the other two podcasts there also. And then YouTube, make sure, again, like I said, The Gnarly Gnome. Make sure you are subscribed to Drinking with the Gnome on YouTube. And make sure you're subscribed to Cincy Brewcast on YouTube, because those are all shows also. Or channels, I guess, on YouTube. Sorry, I'm coughing a whole bunch. Marco said, what happened? What happened when? During the bottle share? Or something happening on Marco's end right now? Somebody check on Marco. Make sure he's still with us. So just subscribe to all the stuff. Share it with all your friends. You guys know the drill by now with all that stuff. Marco says, "You okay?" I heard a cough. Yes, I'm fine. Not dying. We're all dying. That's nothing we can do to get around that. But I'm not currently about to die, as far as I know. I guess I don't know that either. All right. Housekeeping out of the way, let's dive into what I've been up to. I think I talked to some of you. I wrote a post about it, but I'm trying to remember what night. We went on Friday, I guess. We went to this first place, which it requires a little bit of a backstory. Some of you, I guess everybody that I see here on the chat knows about Rivertown Brewing Company. They were located originally in Lockland, in this very kind of what I consider old school warehouse kind of tap room. They left there, went up to Monroe, since closed there, but that's not really what the story is about. In their place, there was a brewery called Cincy Brewing Company that opened in that same space. They, evidently, have since closed. They never told anybody that they closed, which was kind of weird. They just sold the business to somebody else, and then that other place has since opened up, and I stopped there. That place, there it is, Cerveceria Ortega. Now, this is, if you read the post, this is probably a little bit of repeat for you, but this is it is a brewery, so it's a taproom and brewery that, in their words, is dedicated to brewing traditional Mexican cervezas, so Mexican style beer, namely Mexican lagers is what they strive to do. I stopped in, and now granted, they're in the middle of a soft opening phase right now, so it's not super fair to judge kind of what they're going to be yet, because they're not officially open. But they do have lots of Mexican lager. It is just not their Mexican lager. Everybody, and I do mean everybody that was in the building that was not me or my wife, was drinking Modelo. And don't get me wrong, Modelo's a great beer. I love Modelo. But I can't quite wrap my head around where you go with this as a brewery. You are gonna have a tough road to get people to put their Modelo away and start drinking beer that you brew there. Even if you do brew a good Mexican lager, you now have to brew one that is as cheap or cheaper than the Modelo that you're selling, or has to be incredible. And that's a hard thing for anybody to do. So I'm a little concerned about them, but with that being said, I do think that there is a path to success there. I think that you could, in theory, number one, stop selling Modelo as soon as you have something that is even close to it on tap, or sooner. Stop selling Modelo, and kick into your cocktail program a little bit heavier. The cocktail that I did have, which was fine. It wasn't the most delicious drink I've ever had. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of it tasted a lot like Sprite, and it was $13. And that's not really like what I want. But if you went a little heavier into that and made some really good cocktails that were cheap, that were easy to make, easily repeatable, approachable kind of cocktails, and your own beer, I think that they could figure this out. But we'll see. Let's see. Josh just cracked open Steve Austin's Broken Skull Double IPA from El Segundo. That beer was okay. It was fine. We had that the other day. It wasn't as bad as the other Steve Austin beer. And Julia says, do you have to, or do you just stop serving Modelo and only offer the Mexican lager you're brewing? That is probably the right way to do it, but you're then now risking all of these people that have been coming to your business since the day you opened, just turning around and leaving and going somewhere else. And that is a real possibility. And how long can you survive if that happens before you build up a new clientele? Tim says, sorry to be a hater, but Cincy Brewing's beer just wasn't good. In this market, at the minimum, you have to have good beer to stay in business. Hopefully, Ortega will make better beer. I respect that opinion. I'm not going to say that their beer wasn't good. I had beers there that were fine. Not all of them, and it definitely shifted and changed. Sometimes the beer got a little old. Sometimes the cooler was pouring a little warmer than I wanted it to. So I did not always have beer there that I was happy with. But I did not always have beer there that I was unhappy with either. the I don't know. Let me figure out a way to word this. You don't have to brew the best beer in the city at every brewery. If you can find a way to tap into a community or a place or to a group of people or to something, if you can find a way to tap into that and create a space that is comfortable for people to be at and that they enjoy what they're drinking, they'll come there and it'll be fine. Not everybody. Modelo is not the best beer in Cincinnati by any stretch. It's not a bad beer. It's a fine beer, and I'll drink it any day. But it is not. It's not the best beer. It's not the thing that people aren't gonna run out of their house and line up to drink Modelo. But you have to have something that makes people want to be there, and sometimes some of these breweries are not always giving that. Josh says it was mid. My problem was the empty tap room. I don't want to sit in an empty warehouse. I agree with that, and they have improved the tap room a bit. Now it still is very familiar, but the bar is bigger. They have kind of a neater kind of back bar built on the one side. It pulls you into the tap room more than feeling kind of separated between the front and the back. They did some improvements, but still needs a little bit. Caroline said the old episodes they recorded with Matt Damaris for Hustle and Brews were pretty informative on why they think they closed and what they could have or what they would have or could have done differently. Are you talking about Cincy Brewing Company? Because they were open up until like this January. Like they didn't. I have to go back and listen to it again. Julia says, who all from Cincy Brewing Company stayed other than the brewer? Nobody that I'm aware of. And I did not know that the brewer was staying on until I stopped in the other day and was talking to the bartender. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that was kind of planned all along. Caroline says, maybe I'm thinking of a different place. I think you're probably thinking of Queen City, yeah. And that's what Julia just said. Queen City Brewing Company, maybe not Cincy Brewing, at Queen City. He talked to them after they closed, like pretty quick after they closed. He talked to a couple different people on different episodes. I can almost guarantee that's what you're thinking of. Caroline says, too many breweries. The bubble is going to burst. I believe that was a joke. Michael Amon says, a fun anecdote is that we, Adina, looked at the space adjoining space but turned it down. The place might be cursed. I've heard that before. The place might be cursed. I don't buy that. It's not a great location. It's not a great spot. For a distributor, it's fine. But for a tap room, it is not the best place to be located. It's not really in the mix. But I don't think that, again, much like the quality of beer, which I hate saying that you don't need good beer, because we all want all of our breweries to have good beer, but you don't need great beer. You don't need a great location. You don't need a great story. You don't need every one of those things to be successful. Ideally, you should try to get them all, but you can be successful without some of those. But you do need something. You need something to make people want to be there. So I don't think that the location is cursed. I think that somebody could come in there with phenomenal beer, a phenomenal story, and be successful. Rivertown was successful in that location. They were so successful that they were growing out of that location. Now, part of what was making them successful was selling beer in distro, but the tap room was doing fine. It was a pre-curse. It was a discussion from them if they were going to keep putting more money into that tap room and making it a better place for people to hang out, and adding, a better food program and things like that, or the new location, what it ended up being in Monroe. And we know how they decided, but I don't think it's the location itself curse or just a bad location. I don't think that is the issue with them, but that's just my opinion, and you know what people say about opinions. So that's my thoughts on Cerveceria Ortega. There has been some other kind of local, bigger kind of news that has happened. Fretboard. Fretboard's light beer. And I have a few thoughts about this, and it kind of wraps into the next thing I want to talk about too. Kind of before we get past Cerveceria Ortega, Julia says, I liken it to 13 Below. I love the outdoor space. The food partner is amazing. There's park literally steps away. Beer just doesn't hit the mark for me. I agree with that, but it's not. The beer isn't terrible. Like, it doesn't. I don't want to vomit when I drink it. It's not bad. But I'm not going there just for the beer. I'm going there for other things that make it what it is. And that's a good example. I would say their location is a hair better than Lockland personally, but that's just my opinion. Light beer. This is, to me, and the headline that I wrote in my notes that I have written down is that big beer is still king. It's funny. Funny is probably not the right word, but it is interesting to me that after all of these years, we are still shooting for this market, for light beer. This is what beer was before craft beer. And, I mean, we can obviously go back in history pre this, but this was the thing that we were rallying against. And I don't have any problems with light beer. There's light beer in my house at any given time. There is a time and a place for everything. But I just don't know. I don't know that that's what craft breweries need to be shooting for. I still think that craft beer, the people that are drinking a lot of craft beer, Michael says that Miller Lite and New Albion started basically at the same time. It's crazy to think about, but even so, aside from light beer, though, I'm even, like, we just talk about, American lager, this, the Budweisers and, Miller Genuine Draft or whatever, that's light beer too, comparative to the things that are happening in craft beer. I think that the majority of people that drink light beer on a regular basis that are going to be buying multiple 15 packs of it, because this does come in 15 and 24 packs, the people that are going to be consuming light beer like that are still people that just don't, they don't really, it's not beer that they are, that they're trying to find. Sorry, my computer's yelling at me about something. It's the same thing about, the big explosion of seltzer. To me, it's still a confusion about what they want to be drinking. It's not that they want seltzer. It's not that they want light beer. It's not that they want low carb beer or any of that. Like, they haven't figured it out. And so it's strange to see breweries kind of chasing that consumer, instead of breweries being who they are and then trying to bring consumers into that. I think that's probably the best way that I can put my feelings into words about it. Again, not that this product is a bad product, not that it's not a product that I'm probably going to drink a bunch of it this summer, but it is strange feeling to me when you see stuff like this, or garage beer, or Cold Boy from Taft's, all of these things. Even, like when I look at Legendary Lager from Madry, it is a lighter, more approachable beer, but it's still, to me, a little bit more flavorful than some of the other light beers that are out there. It's a little more Helles Lager like versus a light American lager. I don't know. I don't know if there is a difference or not, but they've been working on this for more than 2 years, is what they said. I mean, we've seen the acoustic in the tap room. Their kind of light beer has been kind of an experiment over time, trying to perfect this idea and trying to figure out what it needs to be. They're pricing it to compete with the kind of premium light lagers. So it's not going to be super cheap, but it'll be cheaper than a kind of a normal craft lager. Comes in at 4%, 99 calories, less than 5 carbs. So they are definitely kind of catering to a crowd that is looking for light beer, something that's it's not healthy. We know that drinking isn't healthy no matter what, and it is a healthier alternative. Michael says, "What's the price?" They have not said. They're just saying that they are pricing it to compete with premium macro lagers. So we'll see. The fact that they're putting it in 15 packs and 24 packs is you don't do that if it's a $9.99 6-pack, I guess. I mean, do they do like? I mean, you can get 12 packs of Truth, but can you get 15 packs or 24 packs? I don't know. And we should start seeing it this summer. I think around June is when we'll start seeing it. Caroline says, I know people who will get it, but I don't know how often they'll buy it in comparison to garage beer or big beer. So to me, the space in my house that the lighter beers like this go is the garage fridge. That's when people come over, they're not coming all the way downstairs here to grab a beer every few minutes. They're just grabbing one out of the garage. That fridge has a certain amount of space that is dedicated to light beer. And it is usually mostly, if not all, depending on what my wife does against my wishes, it is usually a locally produced light beer, be it garage beer, Legendary Lager, Cold Boy, or even the 50 West American Lager, like something that I know, somebody who does not normally drink craft beer. They just want what makes them comfortable, what they will be happy with. This will not it will not replace any of those, but it'll definitely kind of find its way into the mix. I think that's how I would word it. I don't stay loyal to any one brand, especially anymore with how many there are. But I do mix it up, and you never know what'll be in there, but it'll be that idea. So this is just a new one that'll enter that mix. I think that's an okay thing, but it does kind of go back to a topic that we talked about. I don't know, a couple months ago, when AB InBev closed down platform and laid everybody off, and then the next day we started hearing about layoffs across all of their craft brands. It was a signal of this this push back into national brands for them, and it's big beer being big beer again. I mean, it's not that the craft brands don't exist, but the ones that do are going to be national craft brands for them. They don't care about these smaller regional things, or for lack of a better way to put it, they don't care about craft. They know what the bottom line is, where it comes from, and they are just kind of doing their thing. And to me, that's what this light beer craft thing is. In order for these to really be successful, they have to be big brands. Fretboard Light, I don't think will be the success that it needs to be unless it is bigger than just a Cincinnati thing. I think it needs to become a regional thing or bigger, and that goes for all of these that we see around. It's the garage beers or Cold Boy or whatever it is. If you really want it to be what it's supposed to be, you got to make a whole bunch of it, and it has to start to become people's go-to. It has to be that thing that people just don't think about. They just, when I'm going and I'm walking into the gas station, I'm buying beer and bringing it home, it's always this, and it's hard to do on a small scale. And Big Beer knows that. Big Beer gets that. They scale these things up. So that's my thoughts on this. I think it not to compare any local craft brewery to these guys, AB InBev, but it's hard not to draw some kind of comparisons when the beer that everybody's making is so similar. I don't know. That's something I've been thinking about. I think that we're not done seeing it. There are definitely more and more places that are going to be trying to make their own light lagers. We've been talking for years about how beer, growing craft beer, is in theory supposed to be about going out and taking this, in Dan Listerman's words, this forest of Bud Light drinkers and harvesting them and bringing them into craft beer. And I still think that is the only solution to growth, is to find those people that are drinking something else and convince them to drink craft beer instead. And we're starting to now see that a lot of places' method of doing that is, instead of convincing them to drink craft beer, it's to just make what they are drinking. So it's interesting. Caroline says that Hootie Delight was still bigger than Big Beer in the 70s and 80s until Big Beer advertised them out. There's a chance we can flip the script on them. Yes, they were bigger than Big Beer, maybe here locally, and even that, it was I would say maybe not in the 80s, maybe in the 70s, and it was very short-lived, and it wasn't just the advertising that did it. It was a lot of other little things that can't compete with. Lee says, "Ultra right beer thoughts." I did see that video. I should have pulled it, and I didn't pull it, so I can't play it or any of the artwork from it. But yes, do I have thoughts? It seems like the funniest joke, especially timing-wise, that somebody could come up with, and I could not wrap my head around it actually being real, and I still can't believe that it is a real thing. For anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, there is some kind of a group, I don't know who, that has decided to craft a beer for ultra right conservatives. And they have this commercial that they put out to kind of build interest. And it starts out and it says, you are the type of drinker that knows what bathroom to use. Michael says, as far as the TTB is concerned, it isn't. So, we'll see. Supposedly, it's a real brand coming. We'll see if it ever actually comes to fruition. But the commercial says you are a beer drinker that knows which bathroom to use. No more of this woke beer BS. And then he's smashing cans of Bud Light with a baseball bat, and he unveils ultra right beer, which he then guzzles and says, I don't remember when they said the summer, I think is he said when he said you'd start seeing it, but we'll see. I the scary part is I think that there are a lot of people that would buy it. That's what I've learned over the last recent past, and that is scary. But whatever. It's America. Anybody can do whatever they think is right, I guess. Let's talk about non-alcoholic beer. This is something that I have definitely been interested in the past, few months. I just realized, looking up at the screen here, I don't have the chat on any of these windows where there's artwork. I'm sorry, guys. I will fix that for next week's episode. The non-alcoholic beer. So I've experimenting more and more. I don't know why. I can't even give you a good reason why sometimes I want to drink it. Just sometimes I don't want alcohol. So sometimes I will lean into a non-alcoholic beer. The other day, when I recorded that episode of Cincy Brewcast, it was 9 a.m. and I thought maybe it was a good idea just to not to crack open a beer at 9 a.m. Michael says, lunch. So we don't drink beer at lunch anymore. All right. Well, I will stop doing that. But regardless of why I personally am drinking it, it's clear that some people are drinking non-alcoholic beer. It's a thing, and it's huge in other countries. And places here in the United States have been leaning more and more into it. The big one that kind of got me thinking about this week was Deschutes. So they have been partnering with a contract place out of Colorado, and they were doing some test stuff, and then they did Black Butte non-alcoholic. When they put that brand on a non-alcoholic beer, it meant that they were happy with it, and they felt confident that it was good enough to get that brand. It is evidently doing well enough that they are investing even more money into it. They're going to do a fresh squeezed non-alcoholic beer, so another one of their big brands that they feel strongly about, and they are even more importantly investing in the technology to make it. They are using this I don't know anything about it because it's all still super weird and secretive, which we'll talk about. They're using this thing called Bruvo, which from what they say makes the best non-alcoholic beer. I haven't tried Deschutes non-alcoholic. I don't know if we can get it here in Ohio. The next time I'm at the store, I'm definitely looking for it just out of curiosity. But they're confident in it, so they are spending a bunch of money to start making all of their non-alcoholic in-house. But the interesting thing to me is that, kind of just non-alcoholic as a whole, if this several different ideas here. I mean, number one, the technology behind making it. There are several different ways, and I have a whole show that I'm planning around non-alcoholic beer at some point. Some of it tastes fine, some of it tastes good, and some of it just tastes downright awful. And it's hard to figure out which ones are going to be which because nobody talks about how they're making it. Nobody talks about the process. It's still very secretive from one place to another. Some ways of making it are super expensive, and places just don't do it because of that. And other places, when they figure out something that they think works, they don't want to tell other people about it because they don't want people to steal kind of their idea. Hang on, I gotta take a drink. So it's very interesting in that regard. It's also it's a different industry than beer. It's not regulated in the same way beer is. So there are other companies that are coming into this space that aren't traditional alcohol companies. There are companies coming into this with a whole lot more money behind them than traditional beer brands. I mean, not somebody like AB InBev, obviously, but I mean, there are some very large companies. Tim says, "Did your beer go bad?" I have multiple beers open. I always have side beer because I like to crack one open on the show. It's still a little too cold. No, my beer did not go bad. My beer's still good. So that in itself is interesting to see where this industry goes with all of this money and all of this power kind of behind it. It's going to move very quickly, I think, and some of that technology is going to become even more secretive and more locked down when you have one of these big companies that kind of locks onto it. So that's interesting. It's just a very strange market, specifically with the beers themselves. I'm interested in the places that like the Guinness that we tried on the Brewcast a couple weeks ago. It's fine, but to me it's not Guinness, and I expect Guinness when I put it in front of me, versus some other brands that maybe aren't already associated with some kind of a brand family. I think that you have to be very careful if you are an existing brand and you release a non-alcoholic beer. If Rheingeist decides to put something out and calls it non-alcoholic truth, you're setting yourself up for disappointment from people when they try it if it doesn't taste like truth. But if you just release a separate IPA that is called Rheingeist non-alcoholic deliciousness, I think that you have a better chance of success. Sean White says, you think Urban Artifact can come out with some non-alcoholic beer and package it in the Tetra Pak juice box? And Julia says, "Oh, I'd love to see that. Would it be fruit smoothies or thick kombucha at that point?" Michael says, "Lie. What is a lie? Which part?" The about the brands that an existing brand can't be as successful. It's just my opinion. Oh, non-alcoholic truth. I don't think non-alcoholic truth would be a good idea. But I could be wrong. I think it would be more of a success if it had a different name, personally. Which is why when Juicy Truth, when they did that, I think it's so fascinating that they leaned into the truth name. And we talked about that on the Brewcast. Oh, I gotcha. It would be called Lie. Okay, gotcha. Oh Lord. Oh, I'm slow, guys. But I would be curious to see more places locally kind of lean into the non-alcoholic realm. Mad Tree is still the only one that I've seen that have made anything. And again, they didn't they didn't call it non-alcoholic psychopathy or non-alcoholic ramble on or whatever. They gave it its own kind of brand. So there's a lot of weird things happening in craft beer. There's always weird things happening in craft beer. It's hard to actually understand at any given moment what craft beer really is or where craft beer is actually going. I don't know that's a bad thing, but I also some days it just leaves me feeling strange about the industry. I recognize that the industry is still young and it's still evolving. But Lee says that Brewdog's non-alcoholic is called AF. So, like, for instance, their latest one is their Clockwork AF. It's a good example of one that seems to be doing okay with still using the same brands. So, good call on that one. And those aren't terrible. They're pretty good. But I also don't really drink their core brands, so I can't really make that comparison. I don't know if they're close or not. It's a strange market that I think we're gonna be talking about for a very long time. I really am considering always having some in my fridge now. Kind of the same thing as the lighter beers. I might always have non-alcoholic beer in my fridge now. Like, just that idea of not having to think in my head, all right, what else is going on this afternoon? Is, do I need to be sober for some kind of thing at my kid's school, or for, or is it 9 a.m. or what? Like, I just to not have to think about it, and just I would still much rather drink a beer like beverage than water most of the time. So stay tuned. Like I said, we will definitely have some more content around that whole side of the industry. We're going to have more content around a lot of stuff. We'll probably even talk light beer at some point in this season of the Brewcast. I don't know if it'll actually be on the Brewcast or if it'll kind of work its way into an episode of this show or Drinking with the Gnome or something. Don't know. I think I have a couple ideas for Weekly Pint episodes that are not kind of this exact same format, that may bring kind of more of a topic into it, may bring some guests into the mix. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of ideas to play around with. Caroline says, I'm content knowing that there will be more content. Perfect. All right. We'll wrap it up. We are a little bit over 45 minutes, so we'll wrap things up so that we can all kick our feet up and finish a few beers. It's always hard to sit down and drink a beer while you're actually recording. Got a whole bunch of stuff to pack up for work in the morning, and I'm sure all of you guys have a nice long week to plan for also. So thank you guys for hanging out. Like I said, if you don't subscribe already to this show or any of the shows, please do that. Share it with your friends. Go to thegnarlygnome.com/support if you want to support monetarily. And thank you if you do. Thank you if you don't still. Like, thank you just for engaging with content. Just thank all of you for being here. It means the world. And we'll be back next week for this same kind of idea. It's a happy hour. It's a show that is also a happy hour. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Going back to Sean's comment about Urban Artifact doing non-alcoholic fruit tarts in juice box form, since they use more fruit than actual juice does, it would probably be like the best juice in the world. They definitely need to do that. I'd buy it.